want to pivot to the Bitcoin ETFs and Vanguard
Yeah.
reversing their decision. So, just to give a little bit of background, over a year ago, uh, Bitcoin ETFs were approved to trade, which was a very big deal because that allows pretty much anyone with a brokerage account to invest in Bitcoin. At least that's what you would think if you were reading all the headlines. There are a couple of exceptions of when you can't buy a Bitcoin ETF or a crypto ETF, crypto being the larger market cap cryptocurrency. So Ethereum, Ripple, I think Ripple, Solana, like those also offer ETFs.
Okay.
So Vanguard did not allow any of their customers to buy any of these ETFs. They claimed that it was too volatile and unproven.
Okay.
Uh,
Wow.
the the other exception to buying ETFs, crypto ETFs, was you cannot invest in a crypto ETF in your 401k. Now, this makes a bit more sense because you can't invest in most things in your 401k,
Right.
but
Right.
it's still a big limitation, especially when a core benefit of owning a Bitcoin ETF for someone who owns Bitcoin, like actual Bitcoin, is the tax advantage a 401k
Mm,
brings.
right.
And I think that's coming, like not just for crypto, but for anything. I think they're going to start to open up those rules in the future where like you can invest in an individual stock in your 401k if you want to.
That would be great.
Anyway, focusing on Vanguard. Um, so their stance was it's too volatile, too unproven, and yet you could trade master MicroStrategy, like which is more
So it was a
volatile, more
losing
unproven.
losing
Right.
argument, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it didn't make any sense. Like they shouldn't be able to pick and choose what you can and can't invest in. It should
Right.
just, if it's approved by uh but by the government and like everyone else is okay with it, like Vanguard
Right.
shouldn't stop it unless if there was some real issue, which
I'm
there
sure they
isn't.
were probably losing customers over it because, if you're a
They
customer, I'm
lost
sure you
they
did
lost
not
some
love.
dollars for me, that's for sure. But yeah,
Oh,
so
you switched from Vanguard?
I partially switched. I didn't fully
Okay.
switch, but yeah. So like I did want to buy some uh Bitcoin ETF in my IRA, which I had with Vanguard, and I had to move that to Fidelity, which is way more crypto friendly. And Fidelity has a Bitcoin ETF, which Vanguard is the king of ETFs. They don't have one. I think that's also coming at some point. I would have to
Okay.
imagine.
Yeah.
Um, so why did they reverse it? To your point, they were losing customers. I don't think they were losing that many, to be honest, is my hunch, but they were definitely
Right.
losing customers from it. And then the bigger reason is there was a change in leadership where the new leadership, I think the guy was from BlackRock and even worked on uh, their Bitcoin ETF. So like it was clear at some point this was going to reverse. I was
Okay.
surprised that it happened yesterday just because from my end, there was no rumors or anything about it.
Is it a coincidence that since yesterday Bitcoin has been ripping, or do you think it's directly a result of the Vanguard decision?
So that's a great question. I think it is a direct result, but it also kind of makes me pause because, as I've been saying for the last few weeks, like the crypto market has been slowing down. Like it dropped down to the 80s.
Right.
And it seems like, if I was like if I want to manipulate the market and I want crypto to have a bit of a pop as it's going down, like this would be an event to do that. And I'm not saying they're trying to manipulate the market, but it seems like they don't want the cycle to necessarily be over because it's a very weird time for them to
Mm.
approve this in the sense that like you would think they would approve it when Bitcoin is on an uptrend
Right.
because you don't
Right.
want your customers to immediately lose money. But they did this when Bitcoin's on a downtrend, and it's
Maybe they were
likely in the
getting more
short.
pressure, like from
Maybe
customers who wanted to buy. It's hard to tell, but yeah, that's a possibility.
that's certainly possible. And like I was even seeing on like Savvy Trader, a lot of people were buying Bitcoin on this dip. So
Yeah.
like that's certainly a possibility. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's a big deal. It's one of those like hurdles that no one has been really talking about because Vanguard's such a big player, but it does make a big difference.
One thing that like surprised me is there was an interview clip of Peter Thiel that I saw about Bitcoin, and Peter Thiel has been a like hard time fan of Bitcoin, obviously, but the clip that I saw was talking about how he felt let down with Bitcoin's sort of promise because a conversation he had, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember the exact quote, but a conversation he had with like the FBI is that they would way rather criminals,
Hmm.
use Bitcoin for their transactions
Yeah,
than
it's all
to
public.
use cash,
Yeah, it's not
right?
private.
Because and he's like, well, it's sort of like if that's the case, and this is sort of again Peter Thiel talking about it. He's like, if that's the case, Bitcoin has kind of failed us because it was supposed to be sort of this anonymous. Uh, Currency that is unstoppable. Um, so I was surprised that like he seemed to have soured on it and like had indicated that he's trimmed his position substantially. So when I heard that, I think Bitcoin at that time was still over 100K. Bitcoin did start to go down, and it's been sort of on this downward trend. But in the past couple of days, it's like roared back up over like it was in the low 80s, and now it's in the mid 90s, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I think the long term sort of like path of Bitcoin, I think, is going to continue to trend upwards when you look at it over years and potentially decades, just because it is global. Like one person's influence and negative opinion today is going to sort of like have an impact, but it's, like it won't overcome the global impact because if you like cryptocurrency, you can't not like Bitcoin, the original and the unstoppable one that no individual or company profits from. So it's kind of hard to beat Bitcoin from that standpoint.
yeah, going back to the privacy bit, like I never thought of it as a more private means of managing my money just because it's
Right.
a public blockchain. That's the whole thing. Like people have the full ledger. It's fairly easy, at least for like a government agency to figure out like who you are. Um, or like figure out your wallet per se. There are other cryptocurrencies that are more focused on privacy, like Monero, but those have never really taken off. I think uh, the like general public finds that Bitcoin is private enough where like I don't
Right.
know, what
Who
your
the
Bitcoin
transactions
wallet
are.
is, right?
Right.
But
Right.
like the government might, and I
Well, I
guess
think
that's
it's
okay.
it's the points of entry and exit, meaning like at some point you have to convert US dollars into Bitcoins and then you use some kind of like platform like Coinbase or whatever, and that was like, oh, that's where we get you. Is where you convert it to Bitcoin, and then we know what your wallets are from there. I mean, if they wanted to, right? If the FBI wants to sort of track somebody down, that's how they do it. But
And
like,
here's a
yeah, go
here's a
ahead.
funny thing. So, uh, in in regards to like entry and exit, it's actually worse with Ethereum because of NFTs. So, like, if anyone shared what NFT they hold, they're not only just sharing their NFT,
They're sharing their
they're sharing
wallet.
their entire wallet. So I see all their NFTs, but I see the actual like dollars they have or Ethereum they have in their wallet.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so it's kind of nuts. Like you could learn a lot of information just by someone sharing a single picture.
That is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And the whole point of sharing that picture is to say, I have the digital rights to this picture. Do not
Right.
copy it, which is like an invitation to go copy the picture. The whole NFT thing never like it was always either over my head or I thought of it as money laundering or some kind of scam that I
Yeah,
never
no,
sort of
there's
really.
always bubbles within crypto. Like before NFTs, the cycle prior was ICOs instead of IPOs,
Oh
initial
right,
coin
initial coin
offerings.
offerings. Yeah.
Yeah, which that was never going to be a thing. Um,
Well, it's
this
still a thing.
cycle,
Trump just launched a meme coin, right? Like,
well,
isn't that the same thing?
so this cycle is the meme coins, which is different.
Right.
Where it's like we're saying this has no value, this is just for fun, but why don't you invest millions of dollars? And that the meme coins, I don't think got as big as the ICOs or the NFTs, or if they did if they are as big, it's not as big of a percentage of dollars within the crypto space.
Right,
But that
right.
seems to be like this cycle's bubble
Like
is the meme coins.
hopefully that's already died down. I mean, if the Trump
It
meme
has.
coin can't do well, like who else has a chance?